Bahamas. Now, Leslie Miller is going to be a guest with me here this afternoon, but there are many things that we're going to be talking about as far as the state of affairs and the way things are going. These are exciting political times, I know, and yes, there are many who are tempted to just keep the focus there. Keeping the focus just there is a major distraction as far as I'm concerned, and I'll tell you why. For starters, this present government will be well advised to take this vexing immigration matter in hand. Well advised. This immigration problem, friends, may be to their undoing. It will certainly decide the next general elections. Remember, I told you that. That is why we on Hard Copy are keeping a focus on it, because it's the number one thing, the number one item among the main three plagues that haunt us as a people. Immigration, in order, crime, bad economy that pains the average Bahamian because of lack of jobs, and a host of other ailments. But immigration stands out as that number one problem. Another key for this administration is this, I believe, going forward, since they're trying to pivot, they say, and they're trying to do the things that would be pleasing to the Bahamian people with 2 years left in this agenda. Another key for the present administration, I believe, would be this. If you say you're putting Bahamians first, then show it by your actions. See, I guess what I'm telling you there, no one is interested in hearing your talk then. You got the attention last time around. You said that you were putting Bahamians first, that there was nobody bigger than the Bahamian. 3 years later, Bahamians don't feel that way, especially on the immigration score. So if you are putting Bahamians first, then show it by your action. What are the ways? Get the illegals out and fix the problem and put Bahamians to work. Action. No more talking. This is advice based upon the feedback from the Bahamian public, based upon what they have to say every day, based upon emails and text messages and complaints and people coming in. This is the crux of the matter. Action. 2 years to go. If I was a Hollywood director, I'd say, with 2 years to go for the final 2 laps, lights, camera, action. No more talk. The Christie administration would be wise to get moving. 2 years to go to deal effectively with immigration. This, in my view, is the moment of truth for them, because immigration is going to be the clutch, the decider. No attention on it. Don't expect too much from the Bahamian public. And you see, there's some who are now involved in the government. And when I say government, I'm talking opposition as well as the governing party, because the opposition, as you hear me bemoan the fact every week, they are not even taking an interest in this pivotal topic, immigration. If we look at the education side of things, friends, on this matter of immigration, these are serious things. I bring them to your note. You can call me and be a part of what I'm talking about today. Maybe you can demonstrate if, in fact, this is a topic of interest to you, because for the last few Mondays, I've been opening up with this very important topic of immigration before we get into all the other areas that some may call distractions. Because the truth is, all the stuff that we're talking about in the politics can't amount to hill of beans as far as pivoting the country forward on matters as crucial as this. And all the other things are just probable possibilities, nothing concrete. What we do have is a concrete government. They have an administrative mandate to do it now. Immigration. On the front of immigration with education, if it is the wish of the government to turn things around, this idea is directly from the Bahamian mothers. So I have your attention. Bahamian mothers have had enough. Put Bahamian children first in education. School registration, you know what they're talking about. School is closed now, but September will be here in no time. Bahamian mothers would wish that those in charge of the direction of this country, politically, legislatively, and spiritually, that they would stop the madness and this year in, year out stuff with illegals, offspring of immigrants, getting the seat in schools. Bahamian children, too, they tell me, have a future in the Bahamas. At least we hope so. Other residents here seem to have the lockdown. They got it on lock, as the young people say. The lockdown on school registration for their youngins, to the disadvantage of Bahamian voters and their children. I deliberately put the word voters out there because in a couple of weeks, they're going to be turning to these people. And one of the major problems of Bahamian mothers who are in tandem with where we're going and who are very concerned about the state of affairs when it comes to school and the illegal children and so forth and so on, never mind all this talk about what the United Nations says. That's fine and good. And while we want to keep in pace and in tandem, no one is saying deny anybody, but we're saying, look at this situation and make sure that these children are in school. Who has the first preference? Certainly, in the Dominican Republic, I will tell you, they are so busy cleaning up things that their people, their natives, are now beginning to breathe a little easier. Over in Britain, where we take our lead, they're doing a tremendous job in cleaning up and making sure that they're making room for their people, because that is what a sovereign nation does, in case we have forgotten. These are very important matters. So, Bahamian mothers, they don't want to hear again when September rolls around, now that school is closed, about a lockdown on registration and that there's no more seat and all this kind of stuff. Bahamian children, I think you would agree, should come first, not any other, especially for an administration that says, and you see, you can't blame me, this is what you say, believe in Bahamians and put Bahamians first. And that's all I'm saying, and that's all mothers are saying. Well, if you believe in us, action. Show me what you got. This talking thing is over and done with. So put the Bahamians first. There's another matter that's very egregious to the Bahamian people that goes beyond the legislators, that goes beyond the political chiefs, so to speak. And that is this whole bit of corruption among those who are supposed to be managing immigration and crime and enforcing the laws on immigration and throughout the country. The government of the Bahamas are going to have to bite the bullet, and turn their attention on such matters that people keep talking about. It's in the public now. There are people who are saying, man, you just got to pay them something. We've got to deal with that. It's real. You don't have to call anyone's names. It is a real situation. And I come to tell you, this is just not a problem from those in the government who are stubborn, it seems, to really deal in a way that's very, very clear and deliberate with this problem. But there are some people who are taking advantage. This kind of standoff attitude is breeding contempt within the government ranks, within the actual management of the country. It's breeding contempt. And so we've got to pay attention to these matters of corruption, perceived and alleged corruption in these forces. And then the government must pay attention to these marriages of convenience. This is the biggest loophole. Never mind all of these I suppose, bleeding hearts and women's rights advocates in many regards. And I don't mean to be offending anybody, but take what I'm saying for what it's worth. A lot of people are advocating, not a lot, some women are advocating. I think there are more women who are against this thing than those who are advocating, but they're advocating for this thing to happen with this gender equality because some people want to get married to some other people. And, you know, we already have an abundance of problems with these marriages of convenience because that's what a lot of these things have turned out to be. People marrying to stay into the country and get permits to work through spousal permits and the rest of it, to the detriment of many people in many industries in this country, including the fishermen. Man, the other day, a dray load of women, Bahamians, marry a dray load of foreign national men so that they could go fishing in our waters. We know the story, man. You know, this is no time to be cutting up. We know what the problems are. We say fix it. And they're bold with it. This is nothing that they hide. You see, some other fellas who are in this business of talking on the radio, they need to get out there in the interior and understand what is happening. Go to the waterfront when the skips come in. Go and see what I'm talking about. We don't talk what we guess. We talk what we know. A dray load of them have done this. How are we checking against this? So don't just think today this immigration problem is only about those Haitian nationals from down south. They are included, yes, but this is wide. And so what are we going to do about this whole thing about marriages of convenience where, you know, I mean, people are just doing it. I mean, could you imagine this now and then there's some who are advocating, well, we need to have this so that we can marry and then he can have citizenship. And then if he dump us and bring his own girlfriend in, if we marry him, he divorces, he still got the papers and the status to be here while you are out there grouchy, trying to take him to baby court. He ain't checking for you, but he then used you and you then got your paper. He then got his paper. These are things that we've got to deal with, friends. We can't run a country with this confusion year in and year out. And it's growing. You ask anybody, they'll tell you that since we have done this spousal permit thing, one of the first things that the government of the PLP did this lap, ensured that this would happen in a way that so many people could get these permits. You have to ask, who are we running the country for? It's to the detriment of Bahamians who can't get jobs. And without jobs, you can't own house. And without house, you ain't got nowhere to live. And we got all these problems. We've got to stop some things now. So that's another thing that the government must pay attention to. Irresponsible females doing a number of things to source these spousal permits to the workers of this country to their detriment, can't get jobs. And we're not just talking about Haitians, as I said. Dominicans, Colombians, Peruvians, Cubans, the whole 9 yards. The government has got to do something. So with 2 years to go, you say that you believe in Bahamians. Well, you've got to show that by your action. And then there's this other matter on immigration. You can call me if you feel like it. I'm listening to your challenges today if you think that I'm not on top of this, because we have to succinctly discuss this. This isn't something that's going to go away. This is something that has to be discussed. And I know that I'm the lone man out there discussing it and bringing it to the fore. Well, that's just the way it is. Some things we have an assignment to do. This is where the great problem of the country is, right at the gates. And there are many of them that people come in. But you know something else, what is also very harmful to this country, its growth and development? Some aspects of what's happening in the church. It is one thing for us to be saddled with crooked JPs. Not all of them, some of them, plenty of them. It is one thing for us to be saddled with these crooked JPs, committing fraudulent acts by signing supposedly affidavits that they know are questionable. That's one thing. But the church must not be a part or part and parcel of this mess, this mass fraud, by signing false baptismal certificates in the name of Christian charity. I hope you know that's happening. You see, whatever became of the cases that we just discovered the other day from the Auditor General's report that talked about these floating birth certificates that allow for all these passports to happen? Will you pay attention and understand that we got a country to build? No one has followed it up. It's a dead story. It's a dead story. I tell you, everybody politicking now. They don't understand the grave danger that we are in as a Bahamian society trying to find itself. The politicians refuse to talk about it. The opposition refuse to talk about it. Media does not talk about it, but it's happened and it's happening. Does anybody care? Does the church care? The church, and I say that blanket, the church, the Christian people, the people who love the Lord, the people who are supposed to keep the laws of the land in accordance with the scriptures of God. St. Paul's admonishes the Christian church to not commit falsehood in anything. You've been set aside. While you live in this on this pilgrim journey, and you live on this earth and this sinful world, you are supposed to be set aside. The church, St. Paul's admonishes, to not commit these falsehoods in anything. Signing baptismal certificates that declare individuals who are born and christened here in the Bahamas by the church, knowing it to be erroneous, certainly is not right. It's not the right thing to do in the name of Christian charity or Christian love. You know, we got this thing, oh, we feel sorry for them. Well, you know, we got to have, no, sir. You know why? Because, as St. Paul tells us, you do these things in the name of Christian charity, and they are false, they're incorrect, they're erroneous, they're lies. It's fraudulent. And they are, if you are doing it, because illegals entering the Bahamas illegally are lawbreakers. And the church certainly cannot endorse or condone lawbreakers. It's unchristian. Yet, the investigations are very silent after the report by the Auditor General, talking about the kind of precedence that's being set, what he has seen, what they have found, these baptismal certificates. That is part and parcel of the major fraud for them to get a passport. Very serious. And what I'm saying today is very serious. And some may take exception to it. Well, only he who the cap fit should wear it. Only that person who got hit with the stone should say, ow. But we know that no other entity issues baptismal certificates except who? The church. Now, you see, we got problems. And I'm going to tell you, these problems are very serious problems. And so every Monday, I try to spend some time talking about our problems, to give it to you in snippets and pieces, because it's a whole lot to digest. But we must keep it to the forefront, keep it current, so that it does not go out of your head. And then we wonder why we have all these problems in our town, because, no, well, I don't know what he's talking about that, so where'd that come from? Yeah, you hear me talking about it every Monday on the show. And while some may suck their teeth about it, that's their prerogative. Doesn't mean that it does not exist. And there are some politicians who get nervous about this kind of talk because they're not comfortable with their own heritage, as I told you last Monday. You can't help who you are. You were born by God where you were. But for God's sake, we have laws and rules in every country, and every country that's sovereign has their rules that's supposed to be respected, appreciated, and adhered to. In the Bahamas, this lack of focus is unsettling on the matter of immigration. It's unsettling. You know, I try to figure out what we doing. How come we are not talking about it in a national conversation so that we may rid ourselves of it? Is it only me who feels this way? Is it only me who drives around and see the madness? Is it only me who people complain to? The answer is no. But I get an overload because they notice that the others have decided that they're going to hush moat, catch no fly. This lack of focus is unsettling by the government. I wonder if I'm the only one who sees the danger of this situation. Imagine that. Nobody in authority, state or church, talking about this matter. There appears to be no opposition to our present dilemma. Where is the national conversation, even in media? Where is it? On the government scorecard regarding immigration problems in the Bahamas, I have to cite 3 main problems why we can't have a sincere and serious conversation. 1, insecurity. That's one of them. That's why we can't have this conversation. 2, immaturity. You know, this their country. I mean, you know, they're the big boys. You know, they set the rules. They decide what's going to be talked about, and this is immature. We don't build a country just by a group of people. We build a country by all hands on deck. So there's an immature approach to the whole matter. And 3, dishonesty. Big word, hard to spell, hard to do. Dishonesty. Some time ago, the Anglican bishop was a part of a commission that was supposed to have given a report to this Blue Ribbon Committee. He was a part of the Blue Ribbon Committee that was supposed to fix this report for the governor of the Bahamas. And they were talking about crime and all the other things that go crime and sundry. The things that plague the Bahamas. This is a good 20 years now. Nothing ever happened with this crime report from the Blue Ribbon Committee. Says we are steeped in a culture of dishonesty, careless regard for law and order and social norms. That's how they summed up the Bahamas. A culture of crime. A culture of crime. A culture of crime. That's the part cake just coming. Hang tight, we can get with you in a minute. And that is how it was summed up. And yet, we are still at the same point. We have not really discussed the matter and don't want to discuss. So insecurity, immaturity, dishonesty is a part of the plague that's with this immigration problem. You see, evidence of the government's policies must be plain for all to see regarding this problem, and we don't see the evidence of it. The following initiatives, in my view, are a result of corruption born out of neglect or indifference to immigration woes. Marriages of convenience, big problem, big problem. Number 2, selling of passports, big problem in the Bahamas. Number 3, fraudulent baptismal certificates. Now, we can nip these things in the bud. If we can nip these things in the bud, if we can, well, the bud is gone now. These are big trees. If we can now arrest this problem, and it is the government's obligation to put a stop to this. It's the government's obligation. But they're busy doing all kinds of other things other than concentrating on these things that are supposed to really be dealt with, You know, I said it's time for talking. Mouth can say anything. Mouth can say anything. Paper can stand still and let anybody write on it. Anybody. You don't even have to be able to write that paper, because stay right there. You draw something on it. That's what it can be. The real people must move forward to speak on the matter of immigration, illegal migration in the Bahamas, and the things that plague us that is causing the economy to become depressed. Too many other people here, many illegal, got jobs that Bahamians should have. That's clear. Now, everybody can see that. Yet nobody is holding that paper down to write on it to make something concrete happen. What you think about that? I'll open my telephone lines as I run to the break. Oh, I have calls online. Let me take that. And then I'm going to introduce my guest today because Mr. Leslie Miller is with me. We're talking about the state of affairs of all things in this country and politics and everything else. But I must tell you that this immigration problem is really a serious matter. And I want you, if you shall, today to comment on it because I've told you some things. We've got some main caveats that we've got to deal with. That marriage of convenience, this selling of passports, this fraudulent baptismal certificate. These are the things that the Auditor General talked about. Doesn't matter if it happened on someone else's watch last time. It matters that it has not been corrected. So what prevents it from happening on this watch? And the numbers continue to grow. Back. Hi there.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Oh, man. Steve, what a timely show, man. What a timely show. But as usual, Stephen, I would just like to share, what we need to do as a people in this country. Steve, I really care. I really, truly care for the Bahamas. I really, truly care. And I know that I will make a contribution to solve these issues that we have in this nation. Steve, there's some things that we're doing in the church, for example, that is not pleasing to God, where we have some of our pastors, only some now, some of our pastors are sugarcoating the gospel. They're having it to be watered down. It's all about money and membership, Steve. And we have lost our way in that regard with the church. We have to go back, Steve, to the days of the Acts of the Apostle Church and see how they had all things in common. Things were working out then. We have to go back to that in this hour, Steve. I don't want to hold up all of your time, Steve, but I just want to let you know I have some answers. And Steve, in the future, you'll connect and I will share it as it comes.
I appreciate it.
Yes, you, Steve.
Thank you very kindly. 325-0235 as the telephone numbers you can call me by today. You can send me a text at 376-9234. We're going to introduce our guest in just a minute. I'm going to run to the break, pay these early bills, and come back today because we're looking at the state of affairs, of a lot of these things that really we're wrestling with. The real situation is what I call it today because I got a real man with me who speaks his mind and who understands what is happening. He's been around a long time. Leslie Miller, businessman, politician extraordinaire. He's been around. He knows some things. And certainly, I believe that we can put some things in perspective with Leslie Miller today when we come back here on the show this afternoon. You just stick around. This is Hard Copy. We're back in just a minute.
Anna, Bill, Grace, Rose, Larry, Mindy, scary names they are not unless they become a tropical storm or a hurricane. And if they do, nobody prepares you better than Super Value and Quality Supermarkets. Par Excellence, Par Bar Rice, 5-pound bag, $2.99. Chef Boyardee Spaghetti and Meatballs, 15-ounce can, 2 for $3. Hunt's Ketchup, 35-ounce bottle, $1.89. Ocean Spray, 100% cranberry juice, 60-ounce size, $4.99. Chicken leg quarters, 10-pound bag, 89 cents per pound. Shop Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
AML Foods, Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Market have teamed up to give shoppers the biggest opportunity ever to travel the world. Shop Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Market in Nassau and Freeport and enter to win over $30,000 in trips during the travel extravaganza. Purchase these brands: Shaman, Robin Hood, McVitie's, Pepperidge Farm, Vitamalt, Libby's, Sun Supreme, Coca-Cola, Bluebird, Mahatma, Hellman's, Cloric Flash, Pedigree, Suave, and Joy. Buy any four in a single purchase and win over $30,000 in trips and vacations. Shop Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Markets and win big.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, heat and cooling water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
What's hotter than summertime in the Bahamas? A Junkanoo and Goombay summer in the Bahamas. Get ready for one sizzling summer with 2 exciting street festivals. First up is Junkanoo Summer Festival every Saturday in July. Come see your favorite Junkanoo groups face off at Arawak Key. And while you're there, enjoy mouth-watering Bahamian cuisine and entertainment. The heat continues into August with the return of the Goombay Summer Festival. Yes, you heard right. Goombay is back. Join us every Friday in August at Arawak Key for live Bahamian music, delicious local cuisine, authentically Bahamian arts and crafts, and lots of games and entertainment. Junkanoo Summer Festival and Goombay Summer Festival, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism. See you every Saturday in July and every Friday in August. Visit bahamas.com/summerfestivals for more details.
Oh, I love my island. Oh, my island mate. Oh, I love my island. My island mate. Oh, I love my island.
Island Made, locally produced products here in the Bahamas and available for purchase. For more information about our products, give us a call at 362-1102 or 362-1113. Island Made brands located in the Bacardi plants, encouraging you to buy Bahamian and support local entrepreneurship.
My island mate. We got in the club, that's my island mate.
The best insurance in town is Advantage Insurance on Collins Avenue. They are simply the best because they provide easy, affordable insurance rates for home, car, business, or whatever is valuable or important to you. Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, is the fastest, most progressive insurance company in the Bahamas because they really take care of you by making insurance totally affordable. Call them now at 356-0285 or 6, or email them at info@advantagebahamas.com.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
This is Hard Copy on this Monday afternoon. My special guest this afternoon on Hard Copy as we get to talk about the real situation. I'm sure that you want to know exactly what this real situation is in the country. You can feel it, but how do we talk about it and really make it come to life so that we can arrest it and do something about it? Leslie Miller is with me. Leslie Miller, of course, the Member of Parliament for Toil Pines. He has been in politics most of his life. He's a former long-distance runner, an athlete in many regards, a businessman extraordinaire, one who does not mince word, executive chairman still of BEC until that subsides, but one who is in fact very serious about the forward trajectory of the Bahamas and the Bahamian people. Mr. Miller, good afternoon. Welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. Good afternoon, Bahamas.
Yeah, I was saying earlier on this show that it is obvious that the people who in fact have been saying all along that they believe in the Bahamas have been your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
That has been the war cry. I opened the show today talking about this whole pregnant situation with immigration.
Yes.
The many problems that we have, it's a myriad of problems. It's not just lack of good legislation and a forward push to really fix the problem. It is also an abundance too of preachers and people of the cloth doing some things, justice of the peace doing their thing, people who may even be allegedly corrupt in the department itself and in the armed forces. And so the Bahamian people are saddled with all kinds of problems one time, and we can't handle it, and we want relief. What's your position on where we are, the real situation? That's what the show is called today, the real situation on immigration from perhaps the context of you, one, and two, your government.
Steve, with regard to immigration, I was dismayed, very dismayed, when Minister Mitchell indicated, I think last week, about these floating birth certificates.
Yes.
That is a very serious indictment on that department. When I was on your show last and I spoke of those so-called justice of the peace, who were in fact giving people birth certificates, knowing that they were illegal. You mentioned God on your show because I was listening to it attentively before I came here. You got to realize that most of these GPs wouldn't even see God's shadow, much less his face.
Hmm.
So they could care less about God. It's all about money. They are prepared to sell our country. I believe it's now time for the AG's office to take away all of those GP licenses, or most of them, until we can get a review of the caliber of people that we're making GPs, their background, what may have come before the courts, or what the government may have known about people that they have given these assurances to with regard to birth certificates. I think it's a very, very serious problem. I don't think the Bahamians realize that our future is at stake. Our future is at stake. Our children and grandchildren's future is at stake in this scenario. And people are not taking it as serious as it should be taken. How do you have birth certificates missing or floating in your country? Who name or subscribe on those birth certificates? We have a right to know. Because most people now believe that they own this country.
Yes, and we see the large numbers are growing in our country. We look at areas of Angleton and Baintown and Foxhill and Gambia and Adelaide. Everywhere we look, we see more people. We see the shanty towns still standing up, Mr. Miller. The government has made a commitment that they were going to deal with this thing quickly. It has not happened. Successive governments have done this.
When I spoke in Parliament on the budget debate, I said that I went on a walk with the Hotel Union Association, 6 a.m. in the morning. When we got Nettles in Barnabas Church around 6:30, I saw at that bus stop 2 ladies that appear to be Cuban and 2 that appear to be Filipinos. Now that's in the heart of Over the Hill at 6:30 a.m. I got to assume that they live there. But I asked a broader question. Why is it that every foreigner that we know, you and I know, and every Bahamian know, either here illegal or legally, why are they working? And our people are not working. Why is it that the government of Bahamas has given out in excess of 40,000 worth of work permits? That's what I understand the figures. In excess of 40,000 work permits is given out.
That is unbelievable.
I also indicated, and I asked, what is the net effect of the government giving this guy out of Russia permission to buy Ocean Club? Okay? He bought Ocean Club. Within 2 weeks, I think 24 Bahamians, many of them mid-management. One young man I know whose father is preeminent in hotel industry in this country was laid off unceremoniously. All of them was laid off. That same investor, when their renovation is completed, is going to go back to Mr. Mitchell and demand that they give him work permits for jobs that they let Bahamians go that were competent in doing their jobs, and we can give it to them. That's the kind of country we got.
But something is wrong with
you
that.
You let 24 Bahamians go. When you finish your work, you're going to want 24 of your people coming here for the same jobs that Bahamians were doing, and we can give it to them. And you talk about a country we got? Huh? And I asked Mr. Mitchell, I said, what are you all going to do? You can give them the work permits, right? Nobody said a word. I said, this is what's going to infuriate the average Bahamian, that something is amiss in my country.
But how do we, Mr. Miller, a lot of things are amiss. On one hand, we have this thing that looks like a PR effort to, say we're going to change some policies, do some things, but we look like we're acquiescing in a very quiet and subtle way on that matter, perhaps because of pressure that was applied to the U.S. State Department or the U.S. Congress when some young men went across there and made some complaints. It looked as if we have decided to lose our courage and turn back and do something else. And the Bahamian people ain't feeling it. And then I'm getting calls and text messages every day about, well, if we're serious, if we want to see signs of encouraging the Bahamian people that it's being worked on, we wouldn't see growing numbers of shantytown that still stands and more being built. What is the government's position on that? What's your position?
Hey, listen,
what's the government's position on this shantytown?
It's very simple. I'm a Bahamian, you're a Bahamian, all Bahamians who are born in this country, and those who live among us that are here or have a right to be here legally. Is a different story. At some point in time, we're going to be overrun by these people, You see what they're doing in the Dominican Republic now?
I see what they're doing. They're getting
Dominican
rid of
Republic say, I don't give a damn what the UN say. I don't care what America say. I don't care what the world say. I have a country called Dominican Republic. If you can't show me that you were born here legally, you're out of here.
Yeah, but we ain't got the willpower.
But the United States government does the same thing.
Of course they
Every night you see on national television, fellow went to Iraq, got killed. His wife was from Nicaragua. They got 4 kids. 3 months later, the wife and kids are deported. What is the problem here?
What is the problem, Mr. Miller?
I guess we don't have the guts to do the right thing on behalf of the Bahamian people, eh?
Yeah, but
That's
then-
all I can
Yeah,
conclude.
but we can't just accept that. We have to find the guts.
Well, then
We've
do
gotta
something
find
about it.
But what do we do? I mean, what do
The government has
people-
an obligation to look at the matter and do whatever is necessary. Forget the naysayers. Those 3 guys that went to Washington or wherever they went,
Mhm.
right? In some countries, they would have been persona non gratis.
Mhm.
You got to go and berate me,
Mhm.
the international body in my country, because some of them is from this origin.
Mhm.
I don't care where you're from.
Do you believe that that's what our problem is in the Bahamas? We've got many people with this descent from down south and other places, and so they're not moving in a way that's in concert with the Bahamian people to deal with this problem of immigration.
The problem I'm saying, we are saying that we have about 20,000 Bahamians that are not working. Why is it that every foreigner in this country is working, some with 2 and 3 jobs?
That's correct.
That's the question I ask.
Mhm.
We are saying we have an unemployment problem. Have you ever seen any Haitian or Jamaican or Bajan or any white American in this country, legally or not, who isn't working? I have not seen one.
Mm-mm.
So where does this problem emanate from? How do you stop it and get those jobs that people are holding in our country to give to Bahamians? Don't tell me they're incompetent. I have a lady in my in psychology, was interviewed for the hospital authority. They ain't called her back yet. You have many young Bahamians now say they ain't coming back to this country. In their own country, they are pushed aside for the foreigners. When is it going to stop? And we say we believe in Bahamians.
Exactly. I used that
That was
today-
our mantra in the election.
today in the show
We
because
believe in Bahamians.
my belief is that if you believe in Bahamians, then show it.
Do
Stop
something for
talking
them,
it.
eh?
Stop talking it. We see that we don't have enough jobs here for Bahamians, but there are others who are holding jobs. That means the jobs are here. And then they say, well, you know, Bahamians don't want to do it. I say, let us do what we should do. Mr. Miller,
Mhm.
how do you make me accept or understand? Because I'm really trying to understand what we're doing in this country, to be honest with you, with immigration. Britain has done a number of things.
Mhm.
You see what the new prime minister now,
Yeah.
Cameron, has decided to do. He has decided that, look, all of these people who are here, who are
Yeah.
illegal,
Yes.
if they working illegal, we're going to take their funding, their payroll, and everything else, and people are going to be made to pay for these people who've been working illegally. We're going to send them back home, and they're doing it.
Yeah.
He was there only for 1 week and
Yes.
went there and made the speech to
Yes.
the parliament, and
Yes.
they're out there exercising what must happen in the Great Britain. And Great Britain, the place we look to, the Bahamas looks to that
Because
place.
the minute they put pressure on us, we fall. The
Well,
minute you hear one scream, you fall. Listen, I listened to your show a couple of weeks back. When that lady was so bold and brassy that called you, live with it. You don't like it, we here and we ain't got no place to go. Live with it.
Mhm.
I listened, I seen this woman got a lot of damn nerves, you know.
Yeah, she does.
She brassy now.
Mhm. And
She
she said
telling
that
you.
she was a Bahamian who had Haitian heritage.
Say, no, she
this-
said she's Haitian.
She
She
said,
made that clear.
Yeah.
She said, I live in the Bahamas, but I's Asian.
Mhm.
That's a mindset. You shouldn't be here. If you don't care about my country, you're not one of us. You don't want integral. I got nothing against Haiti, you know, no country in the world. You know, when I was Minister of Trade and Industry, I went to the European Union. Every April they have this meeting there on the ACP.
Mhm.
All the African, all the Asian and Pacific countries,
Mhm.
and the Bahamas, and all the countries in the Caribbean. I went and I said, listen, the F&M didn't get none of our money for 5 years for rural development. That is the Palm Islands, like in Nagua, that have no
Neguana, yes,
roads.
yep.
It's the gray area. That's really in bad shape, and what have you. Roads need to be fixed, no running water.
Mhm.
I
I
said,
got the report
need our
last
money.
week.
The
Yeah.
guy said, well, you know, Mr. Miller, y'all had $14 million here, but we gave it to Haiti. I said, you can't give my money to Haiti. That is the Bahamas people money. You cannot give that to Haiti.
This is the
European Union.
European
But we
Union.
already I said, I don't give a damn what you are, Mark. I am here for that money.
Mhm.
When your government didn't attend the meeting for 5 years, I don't care. I'm here now. I got the money. I raised so much help. I stayed there for a week. I said, I'm not leaving here until I get a commitment for our money. I respect Haiti, but it is not their money. You assign money to the Bahamas. I said, I got his money. That's how he was able to do all the work down in Ragged Island. Repair the airport, fix the roads, put running water, and also the other family islands. We lost some of it because we were negligent and didn't get the money in time by doing the work where you can't account what you spent for them to give it back to you.
Mhm.
We have money there now. The Minister of Trade, who was there before for 3 years, never went to no ACP meeting. I keep telling the Prime Minister every day, you want me to go there and get the money? The money is there. Right now, we got about $15 million sitting in Europe right now.
15 million.
At least 15 million.
Uncollected.
At least 15
But
million.
this shows me something else. This shows me that we're not managing well, are we?
I don't know what we're doing. I just say we got at least 15 million there sitting.
But
Mr.
if it's
Alfred Gray
earmarked-
is begging for roads and infrastructure in his constituency. Not getting nothing for the last 3 years. Money is there for that type of infrastructure. It is there.
But we're not accessing it.
Nobody would go to get it.
But why?
No one has been there.
Why?
In every meeting I say, brothers, y'all going to get the money or you want me to get the money? I'm not a minister, so I have no right to go there. But we need to get our money. No one has gone. None.
Well, certainly we could use the money because we've got a lot of people to send back home. Mr. Mitchell was crying on the floor of the House the other day that, that they ran out of money. They need more money and this and that and the next thing. And, are you guys aware that the Bahamian people are suffering from all of this nonsense that's happening on the common average everyday people, or are people just in a different world and they don't know what's going on?
When I see the brothers on the street, I live on the streets, man. When I go in my car, I turn my windows down. I go through Baintown, through the Grove. I give them ears every day of my life. I'm one of them. That's why I call myself Potcake. Now, some fellas are delusional. You sit in that air-conditioned car with that blue plate, reading your newspapers in the back. You had detached from the railway. So come back to the railway. It ain't long now to come back, When them pools close 6 o'clock, it ain't long now, You can see plenty tears shedding. Plenty tears.
Let's talk about it for a minute. Let's segue from that into some other areas that you piqued my interest, because there's so many things to talk about. And we're talking today on the show, the real situation. Plenty tears, you believe. Why is that? If it is true that Christie has said and has told the House of Assembly in this nation that all of these projects are rolling out and they're on time and they're going to bring jobs and the rest of it, why would they be in a bad position? What is your understanding of how people perceive the government, or the governing of this country by your administration, Mr. Miller?
Listen, we have two major problems in this country, in my humble opinion. Number one is crime. I went home the other day and met my car almost stripped, the bumper, flares and everything off. These fellas now go in your yard, on your property, and take what they want. This is the wild, wild west. Remember I told you months ago, the 1,200 hardened criminals that America, Canada, and the United Kingdom sent here on our shores. For the last 12 years now, they've been doing so. We accepted them. Jamaica said they would not get off the damn plane in Jamaica. You bought them here, you can take them out of my country. I want to see birth certificate. I want to see passports. I want to see relatives who know them. Don't send me no fraudulent card from no fellow who's a JP. I want to see the real thing from my ministry. We accepted 1,200 of them. I didn't say that. Keith Bell said it. And it's true, I asked up knowledge, but he said, yeah, they're here. Well, why you think the crime has gone up, and why you think fellas are killing without mercy now? They are being insaturated with the fellas who used to killing. Guys who's up for murder in the States, armed robbers. They have now saturated the minds of these young little fellas, what we got here now, to make them ruthless. That's what I think is happening. They're ruthless now. They have learned from the fellas who came with the jail, prison, hardened prison. We got a lot of them here. You got people who the government said with, who been in prison and they would take their words against mine. Against mine. Fellas who served 6-8 years in federal prison in the States. But they would sit with them and accept what they say and not accept what Leslie Miller say. As the chairman of BEC. Happens every day to me. No big deal. That's what they want to do. Do it.
But it's hurting the country, isn't it?
That's their problem. So I'm not in charge.
So when we hear the Prime Minister saying that he is made to feel like he's walking on eggshells when he has to deal with this whole madness, because they're looking at defense force and the police combining to fight crime in our country, and it's not happening, I suppose, timely enough for the nation's chief executive, Prime Minister Christie. And when he says this whole matter the other day in the papers about he's made to feel like he's walking on eggshells when he deals with this matter, what do you make of that? Because you see, Mr. Miller, the police commissioner answered that in a way by saying, let us not point fingers. You see, this whole thing of tit for tat, moving the ball around is not helping the country.
Listen,
what do you make of that in particular?
If you're walking on eggshells, right? Break some of the damn eggs. You ever thought of that? Stop walking on eggshells. Break them. Because if you have to walk that lightly and you don't have no faith in the steps that you take, then you need to take another route. If you're walking down the road and there's holes in the road, either fix the holes by regrading the whole road or build another road. That's the answer to that. Don't complain. Do something.
Well, that's what everybody said. But what is this something?
I don't know what the something is. That ain't my responsibility. That's why I said I will never ever in my lifetime go in another man's cabinet. Got no need to go there. I don't want to be a part of it. Because I told you before, there's one fellow who makes that decision. Remember whose cabinet it is. It is Ingram's cabinet. Whatever Ingram want, Ingram got. It is now the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Perry Christie cabinet. Nothing will happen unless he wants it to happen. Remember that. And I respect that. That's what this democracy is all about. That's what Westminster government is about. The Prime Minister, that's why they are voice among equal. That's why they call themselves Prime. It is their government.
No, we get that. But Mr. Miller, Mr. Prime Minister cannot be deaf. He cannot be deaf to the noise in the market. He cannot be deaf to the responses of people on measures and initiatives that he has taken to kind of govern the country or to try to manage the country. He cannot be deaf to that. He cannot be deaf to how people are crying out about the immigration problem. He has ministers who are supposed to be in charge. Shouldn't there be instructions given to how we should look at and prioritize the problems that we have? Time is going.
I'm sure
if the Prime Minister and those are trying to pivot and to try to impress these people, they've got 2 years to do what they have not done in 3 years.
No 2 years.
Well, let's just say for the record, 2 years, but we know it's less than that.
You got 15 months max.
Yeah,
because remember the last year government, there is no government.
There's no government. It's a free-for-all campaigning and stuff.
And yeah, workers and the civil service people tell you to your face, you can see you back soon. They got no respect for you, the last year of governance. You got a 4-year run. You make the best of that 4 years of light up. You should hit the ground running.
Have you guys made the best of the 4 years in your opinion?
I think we could have done a lot more. But you got to be bold and courageous. You can't be concerned with what the fella's going to say.
You keep saying that.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that the government is lacking boldness and courage?
Let me give an example. The Guardian on Saturday headline, officers want proof of NHI benefits. They refuse to sign any agreement or listen to the Honorable Minister Shane Gibson. Now, who the hell are they supposed to be?
These are policemen.
The government is bringing the policeman and the guy from the prison. Where fellas make damn calls all day for cell phones, where everything happens in the prison. This fella got the nerve to say, both of them, they don't trust the government. They don't accept that the National Health Insurance Scheme is for all Bahamians. They're no different from you and me. They're no different from the man in the Grove or the man in Baintown or the man in East Street or the one in Camp Road. They are no different. They can't tell me that a national health scheme, they're supposed to be better than mine or better than the fella on the blocks or the young lady. How do you get to be better?
They want more than the average.
They demanded more than average, just like BEC, where they don't pay anything and we pay everything. So they want everything. I'm not concerned about the splinter groups. I'm concerned about the welfare of the majority of the Bahamian people. And you tell these guys to go to hell. That's the National Health Insurance Scheme. You don't want it? Go buy your own. That's what you tell them. Get lost.
But
what they can do, they can sit with them and they will give them more than they give the average Bahamian. It cannot be right.
Well, your
I've
government,
seen enough of it.
Your government will acquiesce no matter what.
Okay.
You may be saying they can hit the road, but the government is looking in a different direction.
My view is very simple.
They want votes. They want to have
fine.
People who are supporting them.
If you want to work for the unions, then what you tell the rest of the Bahamian? Vote for those who are not working for the unions, because the unions is a very minute group of people in this country. I have never been door to door in my area yet since 1987 when I was first elected, that any group of people approach me that they were union members and what I should do. Not once. And that's that's almost 30 years. Not once. People are not concerned about unions and them dictating to the government. People are concerned about their sisters and brothers who work in different areas where they don't have insurance, where they put in money for their pension, not where one group of people has everything paid for. That cannot be right in a just society when one group of people get more benefits than the rest of us. It is not fair.
But
the government got to stop it.
But your minister of labor, your minister who's in charge of this scheme, they'll get the extra. That's the foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, on the front of this has been a very, very turmoil time in governance for Mr. Christie. It's not been easy. He had a rough start, and by this time, he should have already gotten over that.
The choices we make
he
can
can't. He can seem to get his hands around a number of things. One of the things, it seems, by perception perhaps, that Mr. Christie has lost control of his party, his government. Young men are resigning.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I'm just saying that's one of the perceptions.
Yeah.
You could answer. Young men are resigning, Mr. Miller. It seems as if the government is in a state of flux. Others are talking about how they are ready now to lead. Others still are saying that they are not so sure of their future within the party. It seems as if the government, for all intents and purposes, by perception, is imploding. It is falling apart, that there's no real control mechanisms to hold things together. How do you respond to that, considering that Greg Moss got up and resigned at the end of his speech, considering that Rollins did the same thing, considering that one other, Renwood Wells, is on the verge of saying the same thing, considering now that there are reports that there are others inside there who are not pleased and are being questioned because, and I'm talking about the speaker, the stand that he took with allowing Rollins to speak.
Very, very concerned.
You are concerned?
I was in fact, I was most concerned. I went to all of my colleagues. When the speaker recessed the house for about 5 minutes and spent 42 minutes or 30 minutes outside, I was very concerned. I went to them. And I said, listen, take the pressure off the speaker. Don't push him in the corner. Because I feel if you push him too far, he's going to resign.
You told him
I
that.
was I told all my colleagues that.
You saw that eminent
I
that
saw
night.
it.
You
I
saw it
in
that
his
night. It
face.
was eminent.
I was over there sitting down and I was depressed. And when I got up, Dr. Noddis said, Leslie, come here. Say, something ain't right with you. He said, what happened? I said, my stomach hurting. And he know when I said that. I said, we got problems. I said, we got to leave the speaker alone. Don't pressure him. Don't put him in a corner that he is forced to resign his position. The speaker already said, I will allow this young man to speak. He was elected like everybody else. I know what he did was probably wrong. And let me say that Dr. Noddis, to his credit, had sent Rollins email after email. Asked him to show him what the lineup was. I spoke, I think I was the fifth one that spoke. I'd like to go ahead and get it over with. He didn't hear from him. Okay? What he did, he meant to do, because he wanted to get that time frame just before.
Yeah, he wanted to be where the
Fine.
big boys would be.
But
that's politics.
Even at that, the speaker felt, and I feel the same way, he had a right to speak. Okay, be it as it may, it's against the rules and what have you. But the speaker said, listen, in my heart of hearts, I feel so strongly about this that if you all want to fight me, I will do. You see, say you all can do what you got to do.
That's right. That meant that he was prepared
That
to,
told me
to leave it
right
alone.
then that I would step aside and you could go get somebody else. I immediately got up and went to I say, my brothers, we got a problem.
You all seem to have a crisis on your hand because obviously that should not have happened. You've got senior members of Parliament, the Honorable Dr. Bernard Noddis, the Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, of course, the Honorable Brave Davis, the Deputy Prime Minister. You've got three big giants who knows the game of politics, who knows the proceedings of the House, who know that based upon what the public's feeling outside right now, watching this whole matter, that had to be the biggest and dumbest political move ever in the history of the House of Assembly
It is
proceedings.
only because that those men felt that what Dr. Rollins was trying to play was not, he was going out of the scope of the rules. What he did was intentionally done to supersede the PM or what have you.
You think he was usurping the authority of the PM?
And they were not going to allow him to do it because according to the rules, he didn't have the right to do it. However, as the speaker said, those rules were written. But you still have the discretion of the speaker.
Yeah, the
And
speaker uses discretion.
his discretion. And when I saw it got to that level, that in my opinion, he was being pressured to either say yes or nay. You know, I said, listen, we cannot afford for the speaker to resign.
So you basically got these guys to back down and allow for this thing to happen.
I just said to them, my brothers, please, I said, listen to me, please. I've been here a long time, longer than most in here, except for
Christie.
the Honorable Perry Christie.
Yeah.
Longer than all of y'all from 87. Ease up. Ease up. because something about to happen here tonight I've never seen in my life. I said the last man that quit as a speaker was the Honorable Arlington Butler. You cannot have a speaker in your party quitting you. In your party. You appointed him a speaker. And the fellow can quit on you, and you think that's not going to be a shock to the nation? And let me say, the speaker is a decent man, honorable man. One, I think it's fair, who tries to be reasonable and rational in his rulings. And I think most payments feel that way about him. So to put him in an awkward position, that you force his hand, even though what he might have done was outside of the rules, the scope of the rules, is not the point. He said, I will not change my mind on this. It should have ended there.
Now, let's put a pin there for a second, Leslie, because this is quite important here. This morning, the national tabloid,
yes,
The Punch,
yes,
ran a story that indicates that the speaker is next to exit.
I hope he is.
Now, you see, Ivan Johnson, who runs The Punch, is very savvy politically. He has his ears to the ground.
Yes.
People bend his ear like they bend mine with all kinds of things. Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is this. Based upon the people's perception of what happened in the House of Assembly the other night with the speaker and all that shenanigans, anybody with common sense and logic, seeing the condition, noticing the situation with Brave, the Prime Minister, and of course, Dr. Nottage, that they're into happy campers with this thing that went down. Now, that's just human nature.
I accept that.
That's human nature.
I accept that.
So, obviously, Mr. Miller, it seems as if there is a problem going forward, even though the speaker was allowed to do this, and the speaker is still the member for Garden Hills,
Yes.
and the speaker is now being affiliated in a group of youngsters that may be rebellious or rebelling against the actual system of how it is done, not only in the House, but in the party. So he's now perceived as another one of them young fellas who doing, like, he's questionable. Doesn't that give it right there, this whole perception now that we could be inclined to see more of this thing of resignations or separation or turbulence? And that's why I'm saying it seems like the party is in a state of flux, and the governance of the government at this particular time seems to be very questionable.
Steve, I think is one thing we all need to appreciate and step back for a moment. Greg Moss, Andre Rollins, Wells, the speaker, and all the other young fellas who had no name tag or had no saleability to many people. None of them would have been in the halls of Parliament if not for the Right Honorable Prime Minister Perry Christie and the PLP.
Mm-hmm.
They would not have made it there.
Agreed.
What I saw from the beginning, and I told colleagues this over and repeatedly, I like Renard Wells. I really, really like Andre Rollins. He's a fellow very intelligent, very articulate, tough as hell. I believe in his belief and prepared to suffer for his beliefs. I respect him as a man with that.
Something like the pot cake.
Okay? But remember now, he had his own party. He and Renard Wells.
Yeah.
The PLP went after him. He folded his party, ran for us, and he won. I believe in their minds of minds, they still see themselves as leader who had their own party and they are on par with the Right Honorable Perry Christie, who is my leader. So they're only going to take so much. And they say, listen, man, I was the leader.
Mm-hmm.
I fold my party for you. I don't have to go all the way with you. When I express a view on X, Y, Z happen, I will rebel or I will do the next course. First of all, these guys were not brought up through the PLP system. They didn't have that close party affiliation. I happened to be a PLP all my life. I was a card carrying member from 1962. Ain't much you could do with me.
53 years.
Yes, of my life. I was there from the beginning, from East Street. My dad used to take us out on East Street Wall by our church, East Street Gospel Chapel. Every time Celine and them passed there, we had to go, and he said all of his children, 14 of us, and he'd take about 6 of us, all the boys, on, sit them on the wall. You see that same little black man there? He can take us home. He can set us free. Follow him. That's in me. I can't do anything with that. I am what I am, and I can die that way. There's no changing, not unless something drastic happen, and I have to take a shift. If it's not in the best interest, I will shift if I have to. I don't want to. I would never want to leave the PLP. But you don't know what can happen in politics. Like I say, some fellas push you against the wall, and they push you so far, you don't want to go over the wall, so you decide to jump over the wall and go someplace else. But in my mind, Greg Moore's situation was a unique one where he's always had problems with the lady who runs the situation in Freeport. All right, from day one, they had problems. And as they pushed forward towards him, and he pushed back, he got frustrated. Another very articulate, intelligent fella. He decided to go another route. I wish all of them well. I still believe they have a contribution to make to our country.
Now,
I wish them well in the future.
Now, you've got some surrogates, Leslie Miller, out there advocating that Rollins should resign the seat in Fort Charlotte.
That's
So they
utter
could
foolishness, man. Please, let's get
No, but I gotta put it on.
the
table.
Why is he going to resign? For what reason? To satisfy who? Raul Grimes or who?
No, to satisfy that the party, Wild Grimes, yes, and George Smith,
For
yes,
what?
so that the party can show.
Listen,
So
George Smith.
that the, so that
First
the
of all,
party,
George Smith should apologize for calling those men boys.
yes,
They are not boys.
Yep.
You don't elect boys to parliament.
Hmm.
They are young men and women in parliament who has a contribution to make. The people voted for them just like they used to vote for him. I took grave exception when I saw the newspaper calling them boys. He wouldn't even call his sons boys, his oldest son, who's a lawyer and a buddy of mine. He don't call him a boy. Don't degrade people, man. These boys. Now that's what infuriates these fellas, fellas like him, who goes around, picking on these guys.
They Christie fellas who going with them and making this trouble.
but it's
Valentine
unfair.
Grimes is an advisor to Christie.
But I condemn all
I
of
don't know
them.
if George is an advisor, but
fellas
George
alone.
certainly talking in the public like he
But
is.
leave them alone. But don't try to degrade them. They have families too, They have wives. They have children. They have brothers and sisters. They have mothers and fathers who, when they get home, say, listen, why do you let them talk to you? Why do you let them do those things to you? The fella retaliates because he's a human being. Do unto others you would have them do to you.
So maybe it would be advisable for Christie to minimize the expressions of his advisors in the public.
I would hope so.
Do you expect that to happen?
I don't know where it happened. It's their business.
Well, anyway, one of them, Valentine Grimes, who used to be a former member of parliament in
Yes.
Fort Charlotte, he is advocating that this by-election should happen so that they can test the waters and put Alfred Sayers there. And Alfred Sayers, a great guy who everybody likes, they want to put him there to see if the PLP can show strength that they're ready now.
But this is no sure PLP seat. Wild Grimes lost his seat before
Of
under the
course he
PLP
did.
banner.
And the people in Fort Charlotte haven't forgotten that as to why he lost.
This ain't being town,
the things that ran up to him losing.
Okay.
They haven't forgotten that.
This ain't Bain Town, and this ain't Grantstown, and this is not Centerville. This is a seat where any good candidate could make a good showing and could take you out. I don't know why they want to have a by-election.
Yeah.
I sure as hell wouldn't be in no position if I was the PLP at this time to talk about I want by-election. I wouldn't be running for no by-election.
So you think that's utter foolishness?
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Not in this life. So see, don't come up with things that will not happen. It makes no sense to make those statements. Why would Andre Rollins quit for what? The guy can antagonize you for the next 2 years. You think he can go somewhere and leave his option? The one thing he want to do now, you think he can just pack his bags and go home? Get real, man. You.
Well, does that mean that Grimes is out of
Jesus.
touch then?
I don't know if I don't think he's out of touch. I just think
You
in
think
his
he's
mind,
mischievous?
because he went on our ticket, that he should give us our seat back. That's what I think is
Really?
his head, yeah.
Yeah, it's not his to give. The people of Fort Charlotte are a completely different group of
Exactly.
people. They're not dependent upon
We
politicians.
lost that seat a couple of times.
There's never been that kind
You
of a
forget,
seat. I can talk because I live here all my life.
So not only that, don't forget the last MP used to be the Minister of State for Finance,
Yeah,
Chivago Line.
Chivago Line.
He was an F&M.
Yes.
So how you know it's a PLP seat?
Yeah. Well, some guys are presumptuous, I should say. But Leslie Miller, as we look at these matters are grave as far as Christie, your beloved Christie, you all did track and field together. You all go way back. Christie's under a lot of pressure, Mr. Miller. We're concerned Christie's not out of vacation. Christie seems to be a little bit frustrated. I must give him credit to say that he seems to be a strong man in some regards to have been able to keep going. He shouldn't. He should take a break, but that's his call. But what I'm saying, he seems to be frustrated with systems, the way things are going. You've got this, what seems in the minds of the Bahamian public, a political meltdown within his own party. You've got some things that are just not going right in the governance of the country. And then you've got this big project that he had been touting and hoping that by March, we'd march at least 8,000 people to work on jobs at Bahama, which has now become the biggest
Bahama is
frustration.
projected to employ directly 4,000 to 5,000 people. I am very, very, and I spoke on that in Parliament.
But before you get to that, I want to ask you: what do you think of the Prime Minister's, the government's perception? You didn't answer that. The government perception.
Well,
how is the government perceived?
In politics,
and then, of course,
perception is
the Prime Minister's.
reality.
No, but I'm saying, how is the government, in your view, perceived? We're getting close now to the walk to that place called GE, General Elections.
Yes.
Okay. I'm saying to you, where Leslie Miller sits as a member of Parliament for Tall Pines, executive chairman of BEC, a card-carrying longtime member of the PLP, how is that party perceived in its governance in this second non-consecutive term, in your view, from the public?
Well, because there's this great demand for jobs, because crime is still the way it is, which is high, and because people feel that they're being disenfranchised because of the lack of economic opportunities, I would say right now we're not in the best of shape that we could be in. Okay? Because when you have mothers who are not working, lady came to me this morning, Leslie, they turned my light off just now. I said, what is your bill? Bill, I think it's $2,200. But her average bill is $102 a month. But she ain't paid since last June. I said, what happened? I was working at the hotel. I got laid off. I got 3 children. I was married one time. He been gone. The other fella came, give me one. Other fella came, give me one. Other fella came, give me one. Now the 3 of them gone. And the 4th fella said he ain't taking care of nobody else's baby. What am I to do? You want me to go sell my body? I face that every day. We still got over 3,000 people without light in this country. These are serious problems we face, you know. I had a lady came to me from Freeport last week. She was sleeping in her car. She was living with some family members in my constituency. She was there for a couple of months, and she said, Les, I was there for too long. I couldn't get a job. However, when job came up, I gave her $250 to go get an apartment. She needed that balance. So I gave her a check. People are genuinely hurting in this country. We have to face that. We have Bahamians tonight that will not get a decent meal before they lay their head on their pillow. We have to accept that. But we have a responsibility, each and every one of us, to help each other out. All of us got to help each other out. Because people are catching hell. They are Bahamians. They are our people. They came from our mother's belly. And I always curse the fellow there who has a child and neglect them to the extreme that they wouldn't give that poor woman one single penny to help her children because the woman don't sleep with them no more. He done move out and living with his Jamaican girlfriend. And he saw one fella around to the house and he married her and wouldn't give her $100 a week to buy grocery for his own legitimate children. Wouldn't do it. And I approached the brothers. They want to fight. Miller, you and me go way back. You support cake. Don't go there. Every day. Those women, they're suffering, hurting, crying to you that they can't pay their light bill. They can't buy grocery. Sometimes we go in people's house and they will open the cupboard. Nothing in the cupboard. They'll open the fridge. Nothing. I got to leave on $200 because it brings tears to my eyes. That's reality.
But this is a reality that your government, your colleagues don't seem to be aware of.
I'm sure that the Prime Minister grasps what is going on. The biggest problem we have right now is the proposed opening of Bahama. Bahama is going to be a wonderful project once it's completed and those doors open.
But that's the problem there. When is it going to be completed? Whether those doors are going to open?
The problem is Bahama, for whatever reason, is over budget. I understand they need a couple $100 million, maybe as much as $400 million. Because they had this rift between the owners, Mr. Ismailian and China Construction Company, the guys got angry and walked off the job. A lot of subcontractors has left, went other places for jobs. These big contractors go around the world. They don't stay in one country. They go from country to country because they have that expertise and they sell their expertise. The electrical contractors, the plumbing contractors, the IT specialists, the fellows who run the elevators, the roofers, and etc. That's what they do. If that project does not open up within the next 3 months, this country is going to be in serious, serious trouble.
You told me that the last time you were saying, you suggested that
That's about
Christie
6
would
weeks
fly.
ago.
Christie said fly and go to Beijing and try to meet with the people. That
And
has
at-
not
and At
happened.
the end of the day, I believe he's going to have to do just that. It should
Why?
have been done a long time ago.
Didn't he
because-
just say in the House that Ms. Rillian came back with good news?
Steve, the Chinese construction company is owned by the government of China. The Chinese Import-Export Bank is owned by the People's Republic of China. How are you going to get around not going and sitting face to face around the table with either the chairman or the president of China or his vice chairman or the minister responsible for those two entities that you have to deal with, the construction as well as the financing from the Import-Export Bank? You can't do that long distance.
You got to go.
They don't want to hear from Ismailian. They already have a rift with him. The government has a responsibility to go to Beijing and sit with the people in China and say, listen, man, I'm here on behalf of the Bahamian people. I understand you and Ismailian don't see eye to eye. I accept that, sir. And on his behalf and on my people's behalf, I apologize for the rift that took place. But I'm asking you, from prime minister to the minister responsible, be it the president or what have you, please allow this project, number one project in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, to take shape and be open. The next major project that China is doing right now, getting ready to do now, is in Nicaragua.
Yes.
$5 billion to
Yes.
build a canal that is going to be bigger than the Panama Canal. They're putting $5 billion. And they're going to do it. $400 million is no money for China. They just want to know that the government of the Bahamas, on behalf of the Bahamian people, has made a request, and we will accede to that request on your behalf.
The government's back.
Forget the developer. I'm doing this for your people.
But then again, see, I hear you, and I know you're not wrong because you're a great businessman. But the thing is this, Mr. Miller, isn't this a private venture project that we can't afford for it to fail because we need it to happen so it don't change the skyline of the Bahamas in the Western District, people coming in, see this big ugly monstrosity that's just a shell. And isn't it too that since Ismailian is the man who negotiated this, and the Chinese people the Chinese government don't seem to be too interested in where he's going, why would they want to put $400 million in it if that's what it's called? Wait a second.
Yes.
But why would they do that when in fact they can grab and hold this thing right now and own it because these guys can't finish paying their bill?
That's a very interesting question. I met with one of the major fellas dealing with Bahama. Then he said to me, he said, Leslie, the first thing the government should have demanded was that those guys put up a bond.
Yes, sir.
A bond. A $3 billion bond. The construction company and the Import-Export Bank. That in this time frame, they saw that's going to be open and operational. Then the government could have said, I will call in this bond.
Too late now.
Exactly. So in lieu of that, this is not a project to the bank and the construction company situation anymore. This is bigger than that. If that project fails, there's a likelihood the damage that is going to do to our country, to our number one industry, tourism, and to the welfare of our people who are in dire need of those jobs. We may not be able to come back from this. This thing is bigger than Paradise Island. What are you going to do? It is too big to fail. The government has to step in
Listen, you've
and do what has
convinced
to
me,
be
but
done.
why wouldn't Mr. Christie then jump on a plane and go to Beijing?
I don't have the slightest idea. But I advise him, I beg him as a colleague to please make reservations. Take James Smith. Take Michael Keatis. Take Obi Wilchcombe. Take your AG and catch a flight along with Ismailian. Go to China and sit with them around the table. It's not like seeing a man face to face, looking in his soul and say, sir, we need your help. If the loan that you have with Ismailian is for 25 years, please extend it to 30 years. And if it's need be, let the government come up with at least half of that $400 million, $200 million, say, I want a stake in this myself. It is so big that my country deserves to have a stake in this. All the incentive that I gave you, which total about $400 to $500 million. That should be worth something for us to have equity.
It should. Now, let me ask you this. I read a story this morning in the Bahama Journal that talked about the government may be minded to inject another investment, some monies into this project to
Yes.
save Bahama. Now, what
Yes.
kind of monies are we talking about if there's going to be an
It
injection?
certainly won't be the first time. In 1984,
Mhm.
when 3 hotels were closing under Sir Linden, Sonesta Beach, Balmoral,
Mhm.
and I can't remember the name of the other, right down Bay Street where next to Nassau Beach used to be.
Mm. It was Ambassador Beach, Balmoral, and someplace else.
3 of them.
Okay.
Sir Linden had to step in and buy them. Didn't want to buy them, The government won't get involved in it. But 3,000 jobs were at stake. He said, we can't afford to have our people unemployed on
Cable
that
Beach,
massive
yeah.
scale, the Cable Beach. So he did it. He was criticized for it, but it was the right decision. We may have to take the same decision now. That to enable us to secure those 4,000 to 5,000 jobs for well-meaning Bahamians, we have to then go and inject capital into this project and get a stake in this project.
But listen, my information, let me
Yes.
just share this with you,
Yes.
is that this project to get to a level, though I personally don't believe that they spent $1 billion, and apparently the XM Bank don't believe it, they asked for reconciliation, they asked for these files to be
Reconcile.
reconciled
Mhm.
to show how this money is spent. And many Bahamians are thinking that already we see $3.5 billion in the ground. You said it's over budget. I saying that particular project, based on expertise and those persons considering the labor component, is the highest component. And in this case, is perhaps the lowest component because of the people that
Mhm.
they brought out of
Mhm.
China.
Fair
so that
enough.
don't count.
Mhm.
So when we look at what we are saying here, my information, Mr. Miller, is that it's going to cost for at least minimum
Mhm.
$400 million to
Okay.
be injected
Yes.
to finish up what we have down there.
Mhm.
It may not have all the amenities that we were
Right.
looking at on the drawings, but $400 million should
Mhm.
get them out of the hole, is what I understand.
Yep.
But I also understand that as we talk with every passing day, and I'm asking you,
Mm-hmm.
do you know this information to be correct? With every passing day of this matter, with this place not open, we've had 3
Yes.
scare opens and never
Yes.
done.
Yes.
With every that Ismaili and them are somewhere losing or have to find to hold things together $500,000.
At least that.
At least that.
Yes.
At least that to
Yes,
keep things
yes.
moving.
But you got to see the
And they don't have the money.
But have you really went out there and look at the different structures? Those 4 hotels that they have, they're massive structures.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't go on property, but I was out there.
You need to go on property.
drive around and look
No,
and
you
take
need
a
to go-
look.
you need to go
Maybe
through.
I can appreciate it from
Go
this.
through, take a look, and look at the scale and the magnitude.
So you're saying that to say that there could be more than $1 billion?
much
spent.
more than $1 billion.
Well,
Man.
my information, Mr. Miller, is that the XM Bank totally told this man is million, okay,
Mhm.
that ain't $1 billion in the ground.
But let me ask you a question. And if that is the case, and they've already gotten, I believe, some 2.5 billion, at least 2 billion from the bank. Why would the bank have expended funds and keep writing the checks? And they would have had someone on property. I met the guy, buddy of mine, the head fella from China. Why would they have continued to give them funding, knowing that it wasn't going in the ground? That makes no sense to me. They had full control.
Well, they had full control, and maybe they didn't do due diligence that they should have. I hear what you're saying, that somebody's on the ground. I don't know about that. All I know is this, that when push came to shove and Ismaili went back to those people,
Mhm.
that they are not impressed that they've spent $1 billion.
Well, I
yet.
tell you, one of the problems that they had from the beginning, and still have today, the fact that the company that they got, McDonald, I think it's either Mott McDonald, can't remember the
Yes.
first name.
Mhm.
The last name is McDonald,
Mhm.
who acted on behalf of Ismaili. They were putting so much pressure on the Chinese contractor that the fella kept complaining about them.
Mhm.
He sent a lot of them back.
Mhm.
I think that's where the problem started. The Chinese wanted to finish the job, but because of the intense pressure that was applied to them by the consultants that was hired by Ismaili and them to
Mhm.
oversee the project, the fellas just got tired of it and decided to bail out. From what I understand.
I heard
But
the same story, but I'm
No
saying to
matter
you-
what it is, the project must be completed. The doors must open and Bahamians must go. Do you know how much Bahamians left their jobs? How much people from the airline industry,
Mhm.
from the bank, the
Yes,
insurance? How much
I'm
people from
aware.
Atlantis?
Yes, I'm aware. And I'm also aware that many of these who are in senior positions are now resigning because they can't get paid. A whole lot of them, I understood. I haven't confirmed it.
Mhm.
I understood that a whole lot of them would have resigned last week. Senior executives affiliated with Bahama Project,
Should have been.
because nothing's happening. We see the chain gate going up,
Yep.
the chain link fence. We see no movement on the property. We hear the news from Ismail himself saying that, look, I went to China, but the news is not good.
But that's why it's imperative that the Prime Minister now takes his delegation and go and consummate the deal to finalize the opening of Bahama.
But Mr.
Simple as
Miller,
that.
He ain't listening because you said that 6 weeks ago.
Then who can listen to me anyhow? I'm only the pot cake. What they listen to me for? But in reality, you see what can happen. Listen, I was so happy when we banned the exportation of non-rebuildable wrecks. 12 years ago, I did that. When I was Minister of Trade and Industry. Couldn't happen because my name was associated with it. They came back with it, no problem. It went through.
It went through, right?
I was happy for it. Honorable Minister Alfred Gray, 12 years ago, when I was Minister of Agriculture, when we switched ministries, he took mine, I took his. The first thing I did was decrease the sports fishing catch by 50%.
Yes, I remember that.
The F&M came back and replaced it. Now, when we meet again, they're bringing that back now to put it where we had it before when I was there. So you see, you can get things done if your name isn't Miller.
My Lord. I wonder where we are on your whole matter with BEC, because I want to know the real situation. This whole matter with BEC, the group is called Power Secure. We did some checks on them. We found out a number of things that I'm not at liberty to say yet because my attorneys who make sure I say the right thing have not given me the green light, but I found out a lot of information. And I'm wondering if, in fact, we are in the right groove and that we jiving, you know that term, if we jiving right, if we got this thing together, because, Mr. Miller, our light's still going off. These guys are here. They're supposed to be working.
No, they're not here. They're not here yet.
So
that's
what
nothing to do with that's nothing to do with Power Secure.
No, but I'm just saying.
We just finished renting 40 megawatts of power that is now in place at Blue Hills. If Clifton is not managed properly, if the machines are not being serviced on a daily basis, and if we didn't replace from some machines out there and make some changes with staff and everybody else, nothing is ever going to happen to BEC. Right now, our overtime is higher than what it was when we started. You know why? The fellas put the pressure on us to leave everybody alone because they sit with the fellas who, the big union bigwigs, and they tell them, don't worry about Miller and the other fellas at BEC. So when we lay off, what they do? The government don't get it. The fellow want to come to you with a bunch of lies and all kind of other garbage, and you sit with him and you buy into it. And what happened? It hits their bottom lines. All of a sudden, everybody happy as hell. Everybody now, going to remind me very shortly, pocket full of money with overtime. Right now, our overtime has climbed right back up to where it was when we first went there. Why?
What was the numbers then?
The numbers then is about $1 million a month.
And overtime. And that's because these poor generators.
No, because of generators.
That's
how it works.
I'm saying they're what? But things are breaking now. We see darkness.
No, listen, man, there's a system in place. Okay? It's a system in place. You got to keep the overtime moving. If you cut a fellow overtime, one of the big fellas in the union, he was averaging 40 to 50,000 a year, and you cut him down to 19,000. What do you think he can do? He going to demand with all kind of garbage because it hurt his pocketbook.
But the man believed that,
of course.
And the man decided to basically have the pot cake stand down.
That's fine. And now the fellas are saying that when I leave, they would be the one deciding who can stay at BEC and who can leave. They deciding now.
It's the union?
Yeah, they decide who will stay. That's what the brother telling everybody now. They decide. They will decide who stay on and who don't stay on.
So what happens since this whole power supply came into effect and we were talking about that they're going to have management status of running the ship and this whole board thing will fall away?
I don't know what is going to happen because I've never been involved. I've never been invited to meet at the Prime Minister's office on BEC. When we first got to BEC, within 6 months, we presented the Prime Minister with a plan for BEC's future. We had financing from the Import-Export Bank, the Danish Import-Export Banks. We were going to get a guarantee from NIB to guarantee our loan. 70% of it was going to be financed by the Danish Import-Export Bank. Today, if we had any opportunity to get our plans through, the light bill would have been cut by 40 to 50%. That did not happen. So forget it. That's history now. I don't dwell on history. So we're back to square one. Power Secure is probably one of the best companies in the United States when it comes to T&D. That's what they do for a living. Anytime there's a crisis in the United States, there's a hurricane, anytime there's a winter storm, they're as good as you come. You can't come better than them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But we bought Power Secure here, you know. When we had that island-wide blackout.
Yes.
And BEC couldn't deal with it. Eddie Dowell, another board member, got on the phone. We had met them before through the U.S. Embassy. We invited them to come here and do an assessment of us to show us what needs to be done. It's a good company. And I think they're going to do well. But there's a mindset that you have to change. And whether any foreign entity could change that, whether it be given the opportunity by the government to do so, to do what is necessary, remains to be seen.
Bottom line, when can we expect relief as the Bahamian citizens who suffer these blackouts and this heat? And
we haven't had many blackouts.
We had a couple last week.
Well, we had one or two, but that was because we had an accident down at by the Defense Force Base.
I see.
Someone took up a pole, but generally speaking, we are normally above the daily demands right now because we got that extra 40 megawatts of power. However, Clifton need new engines. But unless you're prepared to deal with the union and what is going on at BEC, it's a total waste of time. It's just like these guys here from the police and the prison who making these outrageous demands. Listen, in Greece, they had to cut down on salaries by 40%. They had to cut down on pension funds by 60%. What you had in there was devalued by 60%. The Bahamas is facing a crisis financially too. Why is it that we're still giving one group of people more benefits than the average Bahamian get? For what reason? Why? I'm not concerned about these guys. I'm concerned about the poor fella who going to bed tonight without a decent meal in his stomach, and the woman who they're catching eternal hell because the fella is neglecting his responsibility as a man. That's what I'm concerned about.
Christie would tell you, Mr. Miller, that that's why he created the safety net for welfare, that they can go there and they can get assistance from Melanie Griffin, who's the Minister of Social Services, the Ministry of Social Services.
She's been doing a wonderful job. They're now paying their light bill, but only once a year.
I see.
But the government isn't there to pay everybody's bills. That's why you create opportunities. That's why you have an equal playing field.
Do you feel as if that may be a feeling internally within your party structure that this has been a failing 3-year period so far because of the insurmountable problems that you face on a daily basis?
I don't think so. I think what has happened, we have done a lot here. We had to take some very tough decisions. The F&M would have bought what in full implementation, maybe at 15%.
Do you think so?
No ifs and buts. It was on the books. James Smith, the first report came out in 1997. What was coming? Ms. Ingham had already signed off on what. The F&M had signed off on what.
Well,
but we had to implement it. So
7.5%.
So the PLP is taking the blows.
But you probably will implement the other 7.5% and make it 15% within the next year.
No time soon. No. That's not necessary at all.
They don't have to do it.
No, it's not necessary.
The monies are looking good with you have so far.
It looks like excellent. And what is amazing about it, after the PM made the decision, it was a tough decision. Everyone has accepted it.
Yeah.
It's been accepted
people
now.
Have accepted it
because people
real.
appreciate the
no
fact
question.
that, listen, do you know what happened in any countries? You have to devalue their dollar. Jamaica, man, that Jamaica dollar was devalued, as I can remember, back in 1974. When President Reagan, I'll never forget, at the Conference of the Americas, one of those presidents came down on them and told tourists not to go to Jamaica. It was a dangerous place to go. And when the bottom fell out, Jamaica could never recover for the rest of the history of Jamaica. Now, what is wrong? The United States has forgiven Haiti's loans, but 3 or 4 times. Forgive. I was there when they forgive all the loans. They forgive all of Haiti's loans. But they wouldn't forgive Jamaica's loans. And they show us they ain't forgiving no loans that Bahamas government got, eh?
Well, the way that we're moving right now, Mr. Miller, we are walking the road of Jamaica. Sanctions that, when I say the sanctions, the Cold War, the kind of quiet, not Cold War, but the kind of quiet, subtle sanctions that were made against Jamaica that eventually forced the devaluation. We see the Standards & Poor's and Moody's and all these IMF and IDB and all these people pushing monies our way, and we can't pay what we're supposed to pay. We see our debt ratio going to 71%.
but to bring in VAT.
And plus now we say, no, I understand that.
And the
but-
government now got to cut back on the waste in the system.
Yeah, well, that's the point, because no one is paying attention to that. Not only that, Mr. Miller, you're looking at the fact that we're getting all of these, I call them warnings against the Bahamas from the Americans on these embassies and all. That's not a good sign, because that's the first sign of them telling people, well, don't go there.
That is really a sign of an American company being concerned about the fact that they may lose some market share here, that they had a contract tied up for the last 10, 15 years under the former government, because some big wheel in the former government had friends who had the contract. And now you have other Bahamians who are competitive in that area, especially with the generic drugs and what have you. And because there's competition in the marketplace and they see their contracts falling off, what they do, they run to the U.S. Embassy and they give any kind of insinuations on black Bahamians as what they are doing. Of course, they would be the first ones to show you how to do it.
Anyway, let me pay a quick bill. I've got to pay a bill. I'm coming back. This is Hard Copy. We've got Leslie Miller on with us tonight. I've got calls on the line up. I'll take your calls, I promise you, right after the break. 325-0235 or 6, 325-024243, 325-025253. You can send me a text at 376-9234. And what are we talking about? The real situation, the way things really are. You're getting it from the bird's eye viewpoint of view today. No holds barred. Leslie Miller is telling it like it is, because you have a right to know what you're dealing with on immigration, on social services, on crime, on joblessness, and on the future for the Bahamas. He's telling us. Are you listening? Line up. 325-0235 or 6. Let's pay the bill. We'll come back in a minute.
When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. When I fly with Sky. Sky Bahamas. Oh. The plane them spanking clean. The pilots them voice. On time. Safety is the culture. Yes, they'll get you there when I fly.
Fly with us to Fort Lauderdale or the beautiful Bahama Islands. Book today at 702-2600 or visit our website at skybahamas.net and experience Sky.
AML Foods, Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Market have teamed up to give shoppers the biggest opportunity ever to travel the world. Shop Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Market in Nassau and Freeport and enter to win over $30,000 in trips during the travel extravaganza. Purchase these brands: Shaman, Robin Hood, McVitie's, Pepperidge Farm, Vitamalt, Libby's, Sun Supreme, Coca-Cola, Bluebird, Mahatma, Hellman's, Cloric, Flash, Pedigree, Suave, and Joy. Buy any four in a single purchase and win over $30,000 in trips and vacations. Shop Solomon's, Cartwright, and Fresh Markets and win big.
The choices we make can make us, like who we turn to for investment and retirement advice. Choosing CFAL means having a trusted advisor on your side, helping you build wealth and meet your financial goals. We manage pension assets for businesses and offer individual plans to help you design a secure retirement. We can provide brokerage services and comprehensive research support for clients needing a little more investment guidance. CFAL can help you build a portfolio you can be proud of. Visit us at cfal.com. CFAL sees your future.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
Next is Now with the new Samsung Galaxy 6, now available at BTC. Stunning form meets breathtaking innovation and sophisticated design. The first ever smartphone with self-charging capabilities, so you don't need to plug it in. Get ready to discover the next Galaxy. Another first from BTC.
When Steve talks,
people listen.
people listen.
Leslie Miller's with me this evening on Hard Copy, and we welcome you to our show. Of course, we're talking about the real situation, the way things really look, the way things really are. We've discussed some politics already. I'll take your calls right now, 325-023546. Hard Copy, you there?
Afternoon, Steve McKinney. How are you?
Thank you kindly. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'd like to yes, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon there.
Yes, sir. I'm a regular listener, but I'm not a regular caller. So I'd like to say that you are a patriotic Bahamian, Steve, and you have the Bahamas' best interests at heart, and I really respect what you're doing for this country.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I am a Bahamian of Haitian heritage,
Yes.
and I am proud to be a Bahamian.
Mm-hmm.
My three siblings and I were all born in the Bahamas in the 1960s and early 70s.
Understood. Mm-hmm.
My parents are naturalized Bahamians.
Mm-hmm.
I have a concern.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yes, sir. I am sometimes embarrassed and ashamed of this Haitian diaspora crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's very vexing to the Bahamas, and it's a burden on
Mm-hmm.
on the resources of this country.
Mm-hmm.
The Bahamas is a blessed nation, always was and always will be. Concerning this Haitian diaspora crisis, something needs to be done because there's a lot of exploitation going on in the Bahamas. It's big money interest,
Yep.
big money order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the government is doing the best that it can with the resources that they have in terms of apprehension, detention, and repatriation.
Yes.
But I feel like more persons need to come forward, especially those Bahamians like myself who were born in the Bahamas of Haitian heritage. We need to contribute more to the country. My loyalty is with the Bahamas. I have never went to Haiti. I have no interest. My loyalty is with the Bahamas first and foremost. I have never put a Haitian flag on my car, and I never will. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to incite any hate or anything.
No.
I just want to be objective. Because honestly, I don't like what I see is happening to my country. I really don't like it. Especially in the over-the-hill inner city areas. It's bombarded with a lot of foreign nationals. Sometimes you go certain places, you go to restaurants, you try to figure out, because I speak the language, I know who is who. But then I can imagine those who don't, even the tourists. It's a lot of work needs to be done, and a lot of these employees, it isn't really the foreigners' responsibility. It's a lot. It has a lot to do with the employers. Employers of these business establishments that are hiring these persons and knowing that these persons, some of them have no status because they work for less. They are hired.
Yes, you're right about it.
I'm telling you, Steve, because I know I have friends in the circle, and we talk about this every day. Even myself, as a Bahamian, I am even hurt because I feel like there's a lot of discrimination. Bahamians discriminate against their own.
Yes.
And even a lot of these foreign employers, they prefer to hire foreign employees.
That's true.
For whatever reason. But a lot needs to be done. The government is doing the best that it can in terms of repatriation, like I said, detention, and all of that good stuff. But then again, something needs to be done, Steve.
What do you think that something is, though?
Okay, what it is really, something needs to be done in terms of the borders. The borders that these illegals are entering through the Bahamas. What is the strategy to stop this, or even to put a curb in this re-entry back into the Bahamas? What's the government strategy as it relates to that?
Boy, I wish
right
I
now
could
we
tell
get
you.
ready to put a base in Ragged Island, which is the closest point between Haiti and Cuba on the Bahamas. And the one in Anagua is going to be reinvigorated to enable us to really man our waters better. But it costs so much money. What we're really doing is in many cases insulating America from the influx that would go there, and they use our waters in many cases as a stopover gap together. But the United States policy is such a tough policy. This wet foot, dry foot policy. If you are Cuban and you're of a different color, you're welcome. If you are Cuban or if you are Haitian, Jamaican, or anybody else in the Caribbean and you're black, you will get back on that next plane out of there. And that's part of the problem. That most of what the money, the scarce resources that we are spending really to stop people from going there, not coming here.
It's a burden. Sorry, Steve, one last point I would like to make.
Sure.
As it relates to these persons that are born in the Bahamas with no status, they have no identity. They don't know who they are. They have no status. They are stateless. Therefore, a lot of them are bitter, they are angry, and they are lawless.
Yeah.
A lot of the crimes that are being committed in this country are not only our Bahamian boys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have some bad Bahamian boys, but all of the crimes that are being committed are not the Bahamian boys.
Yeah, that's true.
You have other angry persons who have no status. They have no
No stake in the land. I understand what you're saying.
They got nothing to lose because they ain't got nothing.
frustrated. They are very angry and they are very bitter. So I would like to thank you, Steve. You're a good person, and I really always enjoy listening to you.
I appreciate your call. Thank you kindly for sharing.
Take care. Bye.
Wonderful. That's a lot of stuff she said there that makes us think about a number of things. But this is where we're going to have to go on the immigration front. If anybody else were listening, and she said she was of Haitian heritage, but she is a Bahamian, and she is straight. She has a status and everything, and she wants to be a good Bahamian making a contribution. And she makes a point because many who are here like that, ought to be in a position to help to build the country. And so most of the remarks that are said are not pushed on that particular grouping who in fact know who they are, because all of us have different backgrounds from different times. But the point is, and you're loyal and you swear allegiance to the flag, then let's go, let's build a country. But there are others, as you talked about, who are here, who are from a different place, and they have no care. Their whole thing is,
and it's not just the Haitians.
No, it's not just them.
The people from all countries, including the Africans now from Nigeria and everywhere else. We are being bombarded from people all around the world.
Pawn games,
all
breaking,
around the world.
hacking, emails,
so
all
don't
kinds
believe
of stuff.
it's just some Haitians. That's,
Hard copy. How you doing?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Peace.
Brother Miller, how you doing?
I woke up this morning, sir.
Well, God is good. He woke all us up who listening to the show.
Good all the time.
And who perhaps would have listened to many of Steve's shows, including the one on the 17th of June. You're talking about the egregious governance of both parties in the last 42 years, in my humble opinion, because everything you have said today would have shown light. Now, what I call you, Steve, to say to you is, I don't care about Monte Base, and I don't care about Hammerhead. I am here to speak to the Parliament and the senators. They're going to give the message to the Queen in respect to Chapter 6 of the Constitution and Article 71. I have said on the 24th of November, 2010, some things on Steve McKinney's show, not this new company, but on his show. And for that last 5 years or so, every opposition have come up against me because of Manta Bay and Hammerhead. Only those two I need to say. I want to send all of y'all a message. When I said I was the king, I didn't mean a king. I mean the sovereign one. Think about that today.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You got me. That's a conundrum just now. I'm gonna try to sleep on that and figure out what he is talking about. But of course, I'm looking at the time, Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen? We're looking at the real situation. I mean, now be real with us. You've always been. What's going to happen? We've got our share of problems. We've got our share of money problems, job problems, new people coming out of school problems, the high unemployment rate problems, underdevelopment of the family island problems, Grand Bahama problems. All kinds of things. I mean, we've got problems, and we're not so sure if Christie and his administration have enough time to deal specifically with all the problems and bring about a good result to the point where people would be willing to say, we'll give them a chance again. I bring this up because Fred Mitchell says he believes that the government should get a chance to do it again. I was reading the lady in Trinidad, the prime minister there, she was saying that she believes, she's up for election, says that she believes that her government should get a chance again because they had enough time. The limit is 5 years. This is the third year for Christie, going into his fourth year now. And they had a lot of work to do. They got some things done. They were not as impressive as I thought that they would have been. Or I should say you were not as impressive as I thought that you would have been. Nonetheless, it is what it is in the words of the prime minister. But this idea about another chance at it, is that a practical, realistic, logically clear thinking idea that you can put before the Bahamian people at this point in time, that they should really be gearing their ready to latch their wagon again on to the Progressive Liberal Party, the oldest political party in the country, the one that's supposed to care for people, but the one that has problems galore right now with personnel, personalities, and governance.
Well, I believe based on what we met when we took over the reins of government in May of 2012, we have come a long way. Moody's had downgraded us. The other foreign entities had downgraded us. The IMF was breathing down our backs. Structural changes needed to take place. The Prime Minister stepped to the plate and did those things. The problem we had of this nagging problem of unemployment and crime, and that kills any society. We have problems too with the labor unions wanting more than what the average Bahamian gets, that they're the special group. I think over the next 18 months, I believe it's imperative that this government get the troops together, call some very special meetings among ourselves, show us the way forward, what they have in their heads as to how to move the country forward, listen to different minds outside of cabinet, members of parliament and other Bahamians who can make a contribution, and set a course of action that is going to remedy many of the problems that we face. Unemployment is by far the biggest problem, but crime is right there. They go on and on. If a fella ain't working, he can thief. He ain't got nothing else to do, or he can starve. And anybody can starve. So you do what is necessary to enable him just to survive. The situation with illegal immigrants must be arrested, or we're not going to have a country called the Bahamas. We have an array of problems. But I think as a society, as a people, we must address those problems collectively. It is not just a governmental problem. It's a Bahamian problem. Each and every one of us has a responsibility not only to assist our brothers and sisters who are less fortunate than we are, but we got to stop crime. We have to stop these mothers who would have their kids come home with stolen goods, who know that the fella isn't working, and he's driving around in some fancy car. The young lady who goes out at night, 17, 18 years old, coming back with money in her pocket. You know what she's probably doing. You know, it's a societal problem that we have to grapple with. And the government must take the lead in most of these things because that's what you're there to govern for. That's why you were elected. I think we have done much over the last 3 years, but there's a hell of a lot left to be resolved. Hopefully we will find the wherewithal, we'll find the model. We will come together and have communication among our own party members and try to find the answer. The cabinet alone doesn't have the answers.
Yeah. Well, you came up with this Stronger Bahamas concept. So I don't know. A lot of people are not warming up to that. They're not, it's not getting the traction, I suppose, that they wanted to get. And it seems like you're just doing it to go through the motion. Is that something that that you were thinking when I say you, your party?
The first time I heard of a Stronger Bahamas was when you heard of it. When I heard the little kid come up. And actually, that was the night when the Prime Minister, I believe, was away somewhere. They were supposed to have this big, fancy opening.
Right.
That's the first time I heard. In fact, the last time I heard about it.
Yeah, but there was never an opening. There was never an address. And never a proper
It was never
laundry.
discussed with us either. So I can't get involved in things, but I have no knowledge of it. And that's why I say communication problem.
Yeah.
We have a serious problem with communication with the members of parliament who are not members of the cabinet. You know, and that's why those three fellas got so frustrated to the point.
That's why there's no synergy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to communicate. The fella view may be different from yours, but he has the right to his view, just like you have the right to yours. But include him in the conversation. Let him be a part of whatever it is you're doing. He may disagree, but at least let him have some input, or he feel at least they listen to me. They may not do nothing, but at least I was heard.
Do you think that Mr. Mitchell, who has done a pretty decent job as far as trying to do some things, even if it's just tongue-in-cheek that some people believe, do you think that he is getting the requisite kind of assistance and support from his cabinet colleagues and his parliamentary colleagues on a very vexing matter like immigration?
Well, I would think all of us have a responsibility to each other and to the country at large to try to grapple with this situation with illegal migration in our country, because it affects all of our lives. I mean, all of us have families, you know, and we have a country to run. And the first rule of government is to take care of its citizenry. Yeah, that's the first obligation, that you must look out for the majority.
Well, you know, I know that there's a whole lot, final question, that your government is looking forward to with regards to jobs.
Yes.
Biggest thing. Mr. Wilshcombe, the Minister of Tourism,
Yes.
who was in the papers this morning, that says that he has an interest and he thinks that he'll be a prime minister of distinction and a leader of distinction should he be successful if he carries through with his ambition to lead the PLP and to become the government. He said in his statements while making that statement that Bahama, in his view, may not open until November of this year. And that's a long ways off. November of this year, in some people's mind, is still not realistic. He's the Minister of Tourism. He has intimate knowledge. Do you suppose that November seems realistic, considering the work that must be done, considering the kind of monies that are needed, considering where we are stuck in the quagmire of nothing going forward?
With the situation in the Bahamas today and most places in this hemisphere, where the construction industry is at a very low ebb, if they can get the necessary finances that is needed to have that project on fast track, I would say within the next 3 months, that project could be completed very easily. All it takes is manpower. And if you want to have a good example, look at what Kirsten did, man. Kirsten had fellas working 24/7. You do what have to be done, and you can't be cheap about it. Mr. Kirsten, God bless him, he's probably the best thing that ever happened in the history of our country. A man who loved the Bahamas. He was just here last week. A friend of mine had dinner with him, and he's in good health. God bless him.
Yeah.
But it's a pity what happened to Paradise Island, that all the work and the effort that he put into it, at the end of the day, they were able to take it from him.
Yeah.
And run it themselves.
Mr. Miller, I'm told from good goods in the political circles that a lot of things that we see here is being done by the puppet master himself. You reminded me of him. He came to my mind when you said a very good friend of yours had dinner with Saul Kirstner. I'm not asking your business. I don't want to know who it is. But when you said that, my mind went on Hewitt Ingram. He's your good friend, and he's somebody who I respect and admire as well. And a couple of things here now, Mr. Miller. I'm understanding that notwithstanding what we see in the political play, that Mr. Ingram is still very much at the helm as the puppet master pulling some strings, even in the PLP, not only in the FNM. By that I mean there are some people who are stepping out and who have now changed their talk. Not Renwood Wells. Rollins said last week, when he made his announcement, that he's not joining the FNM. An emphatic statement. I'm not joining the FNM.
Yes.
Rollins, I keep saying Renwood, Rollins said this week, in fact, today in the papers, that he really didn't mean that like that because really, he don't know what the future holds.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, you got to look for that. And
was it in The Guardian?
Yeah, I think it was in The Guardian. I read that.
I didn't read
I read all the papers. I don't know which one it was in.
Yes.
But this is what was said. It may have been the Tribune. And he says that, the way he's speaking now, it gives credence to what I've been told by reliable sources, that Ingram is somewhere in the mix doing some things to harness what could become a new political party in time.
A new party?
Yes, in time. When I say new party, a new entity, maybe a revised entity of something that was there.
So where does that leave McCartney and his DNA?
Outside.
Where does that leave the FNM?
In the abyss somewhere, because as I understand it, Mr. Ingram, and this is what I'm understanding, and I know that Ingram said that he is finished with politics, if you could believe that. You know how we are. We like boxers.
Yeah,
boxer never finish in
no.
boxing. He'll have to go get knocked right out
Oh,
cold, throw him on the ring.
Again and again.
But listen, that's what I'm understanding, that something else is happening here in the midst of all this combustion that's happening with Minnis and Christie, that both of them have a gut feeling that Ingram hand is somewhere there. They say they hear the voice of Rollins, but they feel the hand of Ingram. They say they hear the voice of Gregg, but they feel the movements of Ingram. And that in itself is very interesting, because Tennyson Wells said on this show last week that, boy, if these guys get together, they could form an entity and they could have a strong voice in the House of Assembly.
Well, I was told last week by a colleague.
If they could get together.
I was told last week by a colleague that the idea was that when Gregg Moss resigned, that at some point in time he may resign from Parliament and give Mr. Ingram an opportunity to come to Freeport as he did back in 92 and take that seat back and catapult himself up from that to take over the general election. I don't know how true these things are.
Well, you hearing the same
That was
talk.
said to me on Saturday.
Yeah, you hearing the same talk.
Whether that's true or not,
You hearing
I
the
don't
same
know.
talk. This ain't no loose talk.
Okay.
Because see, if people understand politics, Ingram is the kind of fellow who can't sleep if things ain't right. He could see that these guys are falling and crumbling and stuff like that
Yeah,
because of missteps. It would be hard pressed for me, knowing who've worked with Ingram and so forth, for me to believe that boy Ingram ain't even checking for that. You know, this is like a big bulldog, right? You got this big piece of steak, right? And you walk on the front porch with this big piece of steak and put it on the banister railing, as we used to say in the old days. Put it on the banister railing, right? And you believe that big bulldog will lay right down there and go to sleep and say,
No.
child, I ain't got time for that no more. I don't eat steak no more.
You want a piece of that meat? Well, you know.
This is interesting.
Interesting things have happened politically, we've seen in our lifetime.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of interest going to be generated over the next few months. I think it's going to be a very fast-moving situation with politics in this country. You know who's going to come to the forefront.
Yeah.
You know one thing is going to be a very, very exciting election that is going to fall upon us shortly.
Very shortly.
And it'll separate the haves from the have-nots.
You know something? With all the talk, and we see the lobby of some media quarters trying to get their part of the grouping together in the leadership structure of the Free National Movement. You know that's a structure that came together. That's an amalgamation. UBP, FNM, Free PLP, all kind of people inside that make the FNM.
Yep.
After 20 years in the wilderness.
Yep.
Now, a lot of them, well, some of them, I shouldn't say a lot, to be fair with Dr. Minnis, some of them don't seem to be impressed with Minnis. They don't think that he has what it takes. Frank Watson, some other people talking. The Tribune and them. So this other guy, Michael Scott, came out of nowhere. I mean, you know, I didn't even remember Michael Scott. To be honest with you, you know, with all respect, I didn't remember him. I didn't remember him. When I see him, I say, I know this face from somewhere. I saw the papers. I said, oh, God, that is Michael Scott. Point what I'm making is this. Suddenly he comes up with a play a day after Tennessee Wells revealed on this show that, you know, Steve, they've got different oligarchies in these parties. A black one, there's a white one. And he says there's some fellas at that place, and he said the Tribune, who in fact want to have their man lead the party, and they ain't into Minnis. Then there are the other group. So my point is this. I see Rawlins kind of acquiesce in his statements. That's the first time I've seen that. I made a note of it because I have the clipping of it. And then he did that, which is the correct thing. Because I said last week, how can a man just shoot himself and say he ain't enjoying? That's a dumb thing.
They never do that.
To me.
No.
But so here it is today. He is saying something different. And I'm hearing this story from the weekend like you about where Ingram Han is somewhere in there and may even be coaching Rawlins. In fact, Rawlins is the kind of guy who they could use to lead the whole FNM. Did I say that just now?
No, that didn't happen in politics. But
Because, I mean, you remember there was a brash...
Dr. Minnis is going anywhere anytime
There was a brash fella. No, I'm saying what some quarters are thinking in the structure of the FNM. There was a brash fella by the name of Ingram, came out of Pendleton's cabinet, run as an independent, joined the FNM 91, 1992, 1990 he joined. 1992, he put Pendleton out of power. Now, he didn't talk properly. He didn't do a lot of things, but he had that courage. He had that spirit of conviction. Guts. He had that guts. He had that, and he took them on. And Rawlins has a lot of that. Rawlins has a lot of that. Maybe green in some areas, but at the same time, he has a lot of that. And plus, he's young. And that is some of the kind of magic that a leader would need to facilitate a new beginning among new people who've been crying for a change and are tired of both political ends. Just
but
think
again,
about
you asked the other question, though. Where does that leave McCartney?
Why you keep calling McCartney?
Because he was the force that took 10,000 votes from the FNM.
Well, he has already said he's not going back to them. So he's going full throttle ahead to see if he can take another 10,000. But you see, that 10,000 is because he came off as a flash in the pan. People said, boy, this might could work. They gave it a chance. They've been able to see since that time McCartney's behavior, but McCartney's showing, McCartney's outlook, and they have not been that impressed.
I don't believe this time he would get anywhere near the amount of votes that he got last time from the FNM.
You keep asking me, what about McCartney?
I also believe that a lot of people are selling Dr. Minnis short. And whatever his shortcomings may be or may not be, people don't vote for parties. People don't vote for government, they vote against government. And when it's time for them to take you out, they will take you out. I've seen so many people in my lifetime. I'll give you some examples. People in Beausejour town, I was very close to them. I mean, put roads, light, when they had nothing. No road, no light, no phone, no nothing. Walking on rock. They come from the top of the hill down on the road. And when election day come, the old women them who'll come and hug you up and throw you on the ground, suck the teeth in your face, going in them pools.
My Lord.
You know you're gone.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the opposition now. Didn't even know his name.
Yeah.
They knew me. We were together for over 20 years. Bahamians don't vote for the opposition. They vote against the government.
Well, if that's the case,
And I've
my
learned
friend,
that.
If that's the case, you all got plenty uphill
And
climb.
that's why I try to ingratiate myself with my constituents. In politics, I try to build a situation with my constituents that I take away their needs. Someone going to give an opportunity, they need another person to represent them. So whatever they need, I try to facilitate. And that's the only way I've been successful.
But you're still interested in this politics like you are. I mean, all things
Yeah,
considered.
I will run again, God spend my life for the last time, because I would wish to see my good friend Brave Davis ascend to the top echelon in this country. I think he's deserving of it. I think he's worked very hard. We call him the go-to man in the Progressive Liberal Party. I believe firmly that he is deserving of an opportunity if the Prime Minister decide to step aside. I don't know what Mr. Christie's future is, whether he wants to go another term or not. But it is my intention to support my friend, Mr. Davis, to give him that opportunity to run this country. I believe he has the wherewithal to do so. I think he'll do a good job.
I appreciate that. Boy, Mr. Miller, in days to come, I'm going to be watching this with interest, because after reading that headline this morning and seeing that big, handsome picture of my friend Obi Voshkam on the front page of The Guardian, expressing an ambition that he has, that he always had, but publicly now expressing it, my friend, I know that there are not so many, and there are not so many happy campers. And working with Prime Minister Christie, as I work with Ingram, I know the personalities. I could tell you, if a word to the wise is sufficient.
Well, once you fire the first salvo, remember the fella's coming after you.
But the fella must also understand who coming after the fellow who punched the first salvo. The fellow who's going to go behind him, and in this case, that's Christie behind Obi, because Obi fired the first salvo. I'll tell you this: the fellow who's trailing and coming behind him must always be very cognizant that the fellow who fired the first salvo must feel his strength and must got his backing.
Yeah.
In media.
I would think so.
In media as well, which is where it's counts right now.
I would think so.
Because you guys have frustrated the media. When I say
We have
frustrated,
the media has frustrated the PLP.
No. The media has done its job.
But how have we frustrated them?
When I say frustrated, you guys have been frustrated about the media, is what I want to say.
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, the media has been given a bum deal by so many people taking shots at them from the PLP.
Yeah, but I don't understand.
Bradley Roberts,
Yeah,
the Prime Minister,
but with the greatest respect,
most of them.
You have an entity that comes out every day in print, and they lambaste the government from the time we took over. And they're so shrewd with it. And then on their radio station, they live and eat the newspaper, and that's their headline for the day. And then that night they print again.
Yeah, that's media.
You know, it's just one
learn-
hand feeding the other.
But you got to learn the business.
And
the business,
all of it is negativity towards the Progressive Liberal Party.
Well, see, all media has their bias. Okay, all of them. So
In
if
fact, I
you got
dare
a media,
say that the Tribune gives us a better shake than the other papers.
well, that's because the Tribune is now mature. The Tribune is a mature
They give us
newspaper.
they give us a much
the administration
better
of the
shake.
Tribune is mature. They realize how this thing works. The PLP and successful governments have been very good to the Tribune. I mean, they got all these
and
radio
the one
stations.
thing I love about the Tribune,
They've been doing their
Steve,
thing.
What I love about the Tribune was I'll never forget when Mr. Hanna resigned from the Pendant Cabinet back in 86, the height of our election campaign. The only newspaper he could have gone to get his story told was the Tribune, even though he used to lambaste him like hell.
Yeah.
And he said that, in fact, the Tribune wasn't what he thought it was because they gave him the space, the time, and everything else
Yeah, well,
to
this
tell
is
his
respect.
story.
This is respect, and not only
And I
that,
have great respect.
The Tribune is a mature paper. I mean, the Guardian has been around longer, but the
Yes.
trouble is, so much change of administration, so
Mhm.
much change of hands of publishers and so forth. brings about a different mix. The Tribune
Yes.
has been steady with their
Mhm,
with what they've done, so that's the difference. But it's going to be quite interesting to see how
Yep.
this thing goes. There's some who
is.
got some great media friends
Mhm.
who now are putting themselves out there.
Yep, yep.
And there's some who have who have squandered their time with
Mm-hmm.
the media and have lambasted the media to the point where media, like any other entity, don't forget.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
they have
just
the
the way it
pen, eh?
is. And the
And they got the
is
big
mightier
people
than
to
the
write
sword.
on. Much more mighty than the sword.
Anyway.
And that.
Listen, yeah, thank you kindly.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Let's see what happens over the course of the next days. But we have turned the page on this show. We're trying to move forward and see how we can get the right things to talk about to build the country, because the country needs to be built. And I'm not talking about us building a strong Bahamas thing. I'm not a part of that. Your party and your people who don't know about communications have decided that we are not good enough to put their ads on. So I could give 2 cents.
That's very unfortunate.
I
I'm
could
sorry
give
to hear
2
that.
cents about what that
sorry to
strong
hear that.
Bahamas is. I think it's garbage.
We're not advertising with you?
No, sir. And I don't care if you don't. I think it's garbage because I don't sell garbage.
Yeah.
We talk truth.
Mhm.
And I saw the ad that talks about the little boy, the kind of Bahamas he has. This is an insult to the Bahamian people. You know what people are doing when they play? They suck in their teeth. I was in a restaurant today having lunch when it came on, and the people tell the man, turn this off. You see what I'm saying? They don't know what's going on. They put things out there, but they don't even move around. They don't be in any real circles where people are. So my position is clear. That's how you're playing the game. Watch how we play the game.
Yeah,
Leslie Miller, I appreciate you.
Good evening, Bahamas.
Thank
God
you
bless
very
you.
kindly. Let's go home, Irvin. Today's show has been brought to you by Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, BTC every day, new Samsung S6. Super value, the Bahamian Super